Hello class, and today we'll be reading Cake Pops with Rosa Parks by Kyla, Steinkraus, illustrated by Katie Wood. Cake Pops with Rosa Parks. Brownies and cake pops, oh my! Finley stomped into the sweet shop. Dad looked up from the counter. He rolled some brownie batter into a ball and stuck a small white stick into it. "Are you okay, son?" Finley's little sister Fiona picked up the brownie ball by its stick. She dipped it in a bowl of liquid chocolate. "You want a cake pop?" Fiona and Finley's parents owned the sweet shop, a bakery with old-fashioned desserts like lemon gingerbread and plum pudding. Finley usually loved helping after school, but not today. He shook his head angrily. "A kid at school called Sam a really bad name. Sam's my best friend." "Why?" Fiona asked. Finley frowned. "It was because Sam is African American." Dad said softly. "How did that make you feel?" "I feel sad and mad. I don't know what to do." The bell over the side door jingled. "Look at the time!" squawked Tick-Tock, their pet parrot. Even though he was upset, Finley still looked up. Only special visitors came through the side door. A lady walked in. She wore a blue dress and a hat. "What's that yummy smell?" "Cake pops," Fiona said. "You want one?" "Yes, please," the lady said. She ate the whole cake pop in one bite. She smiled at Finley. He tried to smile back, but his mouth just wouldn't work. "What's wrong?" Finley took a deep breath and told her about his friend. Sometimes it's hard to stand up for someone, but it's the right thing to do. He nodded glumly. "I know, I was afraid." The lady's face brightened. "I know just what to do." Suddenly Finley recognized her. "Hey, you're Rosa Parks." "Yes, I am," she said, grinning. "Let's travel back to Montgomery, Alabama, to December 1st, 1955. "Hooray! A trip!" Fiona yelled. Dad waved goodbye as they walked through the side door. Tick-Tock flapped his wings. The sweet shop began to spin and whirl like a washing machine. Chapter 2. The Fight for Freedom. "Ouch!" Finley said as he landed on his behind. Fiona pulled him to his feet. They stood at the bus stop. Cold air nipped Finley's cheeks. The gray sky seemed sad. "I've made up my mind," Rosa Parks said. "Even though I'm afraid, I'm not giving in to segregation anymore." "What's segregation?" Finley asked. "In the 1950s, African American people weren't treated the same as white people," Rosa explained. "We had to use separate bathrooms, drinking fountains, and schools. We weren't allowed in certain hospitals. In Montgomery, we had to sit in the back of the bus. We had to give up our seat if a white person asked for it." Fiona's mouth fell open. Anger welled up in Finley's heart. "That's not fair." "No, it's not. Sometimes we need to stand up against things that were wrong." Rosa smiled. "In my case, I'm going to sit down." The bus arrived at the bus stop. Rosa climbed on the bus and sat down in the back section. 3 other African American people sat in the row next to her. Finley and Fiona sat in front of her. They twisted around in their seats so they could talk to Rosa. At the next stop, a few white people got on the bus. "I want those seats," the bus driver yelled at Rosa. The people in Rosa's row stood up and moved to the back of the bus. But Rosa didn't move. She slid over to the window seat. "Get up so these people can have your seat," the bus driver said. Rosa stayed in her seat. "What's happening?" Fiona whispered. "The more we give in, the worse they treat us," Rosa said. "I'm tired of giving in." The driver marched up to Rosa. "Are you going to stand up?" he snarled. "No," Rosa said, quietly but firmly. "Get off the bus." "No," she said again. The driver grabbed Rosa's coat and tried to yank her up. "Leave her alone," Finley cried. "I'm going to have you arrested," the driver said. "You may do that," Rosa answered. No one spoke. Everyone was watching. Finley's heart pounded so loud he could barely hear his own thoughts. His hand squeezed into fist. How was this fair? The driver called the police. A few minutes later, 2 police cars pulled up. Police officers climbed on the bus and started down the aisle. "Are you scared?" Finley asked. "Yes," Rosa said, "but some things are worth being afraid for." "It's not fair. You only want to sit in your seat, and now you're going to jail?" Fiona blinked back tears. "I won't be in jail for long," Rosa said. "Quick, take my hand." Suddenly everything was spinning and whirling again. Chapter 3. How to be brave. They landed in hardened wooden seats. "Oh, brother," Finley said, holding his head. He looked around. They were in a church filled with people. "This is an important meeting," Rosa whispered. "We're voting on whether to boycott the bus." "What's a boycott?" Fiona asked, wrinkling her nose. "To boycott means to refuse to do business with a company so they lose money. If the bus company wants us to ride again, they'll have to treat us better." Everyone listened quietly as a young man spoke in front of the crowd. When it came time to vote, Rosa stood up. Finley and Fiona stood up with her. A few more people stood up. Then still more. Suddenly everyone was standing. All the people outside yelled, "Yes!" The vote passed. The boycott was on. After the meeting, Rosa put her hand on Finley's shoulder. "There's someone I want you to meet." The young man turned around. His brown eyes sparkled. "Hello." "Kids, meet Martin Luther King Jr." Finley's eyes opened wide. "You're the famous civil rights activist? You wrote the I Have a Dream speech that inspired the whole nation." Dr. King smiled. "Yes, that's me. This is the beginning of the civil rights movement that will make our country a better place. But right now, this is Rosa's story." "It's getting late now," Rosa said, looking out the window. Stars winked in the night sky. "Time to get you home." "No!" Fiona cried, tugging on Rosa's sleeve. "What happens next?" "The boycott will last for a year. People have to walk to and from work. Many people will lose their jobs, including me." "That's terrible," Finley said. "It gets worse. People will threaten us and even shoot at us. We'll be arrested, and Dr. King's house will be bombed." "You could get hurt," Finley said. "It's a scary time, but we're doing something important, and it will work. On November 13th, 1965, the Supreme Court will agree with us. Bus segregation will be illegal." "Hooray!" Finley and Fiona yelled. "It will take years before full civil rights will be granted to African Americans, but we'll never stop fighting for equality." Rosa put her hand on Finley's cheek. "Let's go, children. Your father will be worried." He wrapped his arms around Rosa. "How are you so brave?" "You can be brave too. I believe in you," Rosa said as the world began to tilt and spin and whirl. Finley and Fiona landed hard on the sweet shop floor. Finley jumped to his feet. He grabbed a cake pop and ate it in one bite, just like Rosa Parks. "You feel better?" Dad asked. Finley nodded. He knew exactly what he was going to do tomorrow. He was ready to be brave. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story.